So we continue our reading of the Epistle of James, which is more of a tract than an epistle, but we're up to chapter 5. This is a slightly difficult chapter in terms of language, and there's also issues with text and punctuation. Anyway, we'll translate it as it comes. So, agenun, come now. Now, it's going to be second person plural in the verb, so come now you wealthy, literally the wealthy ones. So come now you wealthy. Klausity is the aorist imperative. The verb is klio, to weep, and the aorist is eklausa, and so we're getting the aorist stem there. So weep. Ololudzontes, this is a funny word. It's only here in the New Testament. It turns up in the Septuagint. It's a good classical word, generally in Greek drama. It's a word, it means to say ololololoi, in other words, which is a wail. And so it means to wail or moan. So come now, you wealthy, weep and moan. Epitais taloporiais. Taloporia, we've seen another form of that word earlier in this work. The abstract noun means misery. Taloporia is misery. So weep over your miseries, the ones that are impending, the ones coming upon you. So impending's quite a nice translation of that. Hoplutos humon, your wealth. Sesapen, this is a perfect. The verb is sapo, I rot. And so this is the perfect form here. So your wealth has turned rotten, and your clothing, seta brota. A sase is a moth, and this is this brot root of eating. So your clothes are become moth-eaten. Krusos humon, your gold and your silver, kat iotai. Now this is a perfect passive. The verb is kat ioo, which means to rust. The word for rust, which I think is in the next bit, is eos, which we're going to see here coming up. So this is a perfect here, has been made to rust. Well, of course, gold and silver don't rust, so you might perhaps translate it as tarnish or something. So your gold and your gold and the silver has been turned to rust, and or has been tarnished, and the rust or the tarnish of them will be as a witness, as a sign or signal, perhaps. This is a Septuagint expression, against you. The Hebrew word that renders by this in the Septuagint means this to be a sign or signal. So it will be a sign, and the humain must be a dative against you. Kai. Now there's a problem here with the punctuation. We'll just do it as written at the moment. And it will eat your flesh, hose poor like a fire. Now that leaves this next little sentence here, but it's got no object. So you have stored up something, we don't know what, in the last days or for the last days. Now if you move the full stop to here and take this as part of this sentence, then you could say it will eat your flesh, full stop. Thus, taking hose meaning thus, you've treasured up fire in the last days, and that gives some object to the verb. Anyway, I leave that to the commentators to worry about. Idu, behold, or see. Now, the misthos, this is the pay, the reward. This is I think here, pay is the better translation here. And the reference here is to a problem which still troubles us today. It's where people are not paid the right amount of money for the work they do, and in fact the use of farm labourers in Israel was well established, and mispayment was often condemned. So behold the payment, and in opposition to that is this hot aposteremenos from aposterio, which is a participle. It means being held back or being defrauded. So the incorrect payment of the workers who, this is a word meaning to, we can translate it this of those reaping, those having reaped. It's an aorist participle. So the incorrect payment of the workers who are reaping tas koras humas, your lands, so your farms or your estates. Krasde cries out af hormone. This must mean cries out against you, or literally cries out from you. And the boai, the cries of the reapers, this is again aorist participle from therisdo, to reap. So the cries of your reapers, es ele luthesin. This is the past tense, the perfect of Erchomai, has come into the ears of the Lord of hosts, the Lord Shabbaoth. Usually rendered in the Septuagint by Pantocrator, and generally often used of God in the context of God of war in the Septuagint. So it's an interesting phrase here to put in the middle of this. So verse 5, etrufacity, you have lived in luxury upon the earth, and kai espatalaicity, this is a very strange word. It's only occurs twice in the New Testament. It's generally rendered, you have given yourselves over to pleasures. The verb spatalao often suggests lewdness, and the abstract noun spatale, lewdness, occurs in later Greek. Interestingly, the noun is used in Hesiod of frisky sheep, but that's probably not the context here. So you have given yourselves over to pleasure on the land, and perhaps from the land, and you you have lived in luxury from the land, and you have given yourself over to pleasures. You have nourished, so you perhaps fattened up, you have nourished your hearts in or for the day of slaughter. So a slightly apocalyptic word here. This is from the verb trepho. This is the aorist, and it's generally taken as being irregular, but it's not really. It's really that T represents an original aspirate, but in Greek you don't have two aspirates together, so this D aspirates back to a T in trepho, and when you go to form the aorist, then the phi disappears combined with the sigma, and then that means the aspirate is now gone here, so the original aspirate that had disappeared reappears, and so you get the form. This is called Grassmann's law. It's called Grassmann's law operating here. So you have nourished, you have fattened up your hearts for the day of slaughter. Kata dikasata, you have condemned. Now we get an asyndeton here, that is, we've got two verbs with no connective chi or anything, it's just one after the other. So you have condemned, you have murdered the just man. Very strong language again that we saw earlier. Uk antitacidae humin. Now this here you can see from the apparatus criticus that in some texts this is taken as a question, which is in the Westcott and Hort edition, and so this would be, does he not resist you? This is this straw man that you have abused, that you have condemned and you have put to death. This is the just man. So will he not, we put a question mark there, will he not resist, or does he not resist you, because it's present. Macrothumacity literally be long suffering, so put up with things, therefore brethren, until the parousia, the arrival of the Lord. This is the usual word of the coming of the Lord. Idu ho georgos ek dekatai, we get a nice metaphor here. So behold or see the georgos, this is the man who tends, this is a mixture of gay, earth, and erg root, so the one who works on the land, so the farmer. So behold the farmer ek dekatai, longs for or waits for or expects, ton timion carpon, the precious fruit of the land, patiently waiting. This, again, it's just this participle from this same verb, so waiting patiently for it, until, again there's variant readings here, generally best to understand karpos, the fruit, that was from earlier on, so until the fruit might receive. This is the proimon kai opsimon, the early and the late, and we have to supply something like hueton here, the rain. So until it might receive the early and late rain. And I'll end there.